Nicky, Bray and Sarah Stead run Musicultural Conversations, which are fun and interactive English, music and drama sessions for refugees, asylum seekers and migrant communities. They're doing great work and were a lot of fun to chat to. Have a listen. On this coronavirus extraordinary episode of Light in Leeds, I have Nicky, Bray and Sarah Stead come to speak to me. Hello both.
Hello.
Nice to meet you both online, as we all have to do these days.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We've really been enjoying listening to the podcast and getting inspired by all the fab things that other people are doing and hearing some people that we knew already and some people that we had never heard of. So thank you for making us lifting our spirits during this time.
Oh, you're very welcome. And so you've both come along today to talk to me about Musicultural Conversations.
Yes, we have. It's a very exciting project that we've been doing with asylum seekers and refugees in partnership with Leeds Language Hub and Leeds Church Institute as well. We've been working with Leeds Inspired also, some of our funding partners, to bring to fruition a music project about learning English language through songs.
And other kind of activities using music. And, well, it kind of more drama, wasn't it, Sarah, when we were doing it in person? But it's kind of more, we're calling it movement now that it's online. So, yeah, lots of hand waggling and doing gestures and pretending you're playing musical instruments and things
all the
like
jazz
that.
hands.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what made you both come up with this idea in the first place?
Oh, well, actually, this is a nice chance for me to give a shout out to the very wonderful Mark Hubbard. So Mark is a volunteer for Leeds Music Trust, and he runs Old Chapel, which is a practice and recording studio in Holbeck, and a fantastic place. So definitely check it out if you're a band or interested in kind of community music projects. But so Mark's a good friend of mine, and I run one of the regular music events that I run is a songwriters night called Tower of Song. And for that, we have different themes and we get songwriters to kind of have a go at writing songs on different themes and in different styles. And Mark had heard about the Leeds City Council funding offered via the Language Hub. And he said, oh, what do you think about doing a project that kind of is a bit like Tower of Song? It has a different theme every week and you kind of use music to help people with their English. So he came up with this wacky idea, you know, who would have run with an idea like that? And that's how it all started, really. And I knew Sarah, knew that she had a background in music and drama and was a very lovely, approachable person. And so I asked her if she wanted to get involved, and the rest is history, really.
I didn't even pay her to say that, Hazel. Goodness.
No, you couldn't afford me, Sarah. So don't worry.
And so you both have musical backgrounds?
Yes. I have studied music at Leeds Beckett University. All the lovely people down there in the music department. Very supportive group. A mutual friend of ours is a songwriter as well there, which is how I met Nicky, doing a songwriting residential through Leeds Beckett. But I play quite a few instruments. I run a community choir in North Leeds. I've also done some work with the lovely group at Armley People's Theatre as well. Shout out to them if they listen to your podcast, Hazel. And more of it's just a passion. It's something that I really enjoy doing. It's something that I'd like to learn more about. I'm currently doing a master's in popular music and culture as well, looking at motivations for participation in community choirs. So I've been keeping really busy over the last couple of weeks.
It sounds like you really have, yeah.
Well, the world seems to have stopped. Unfortunately, there's no rest for me.
And Nicky, how about you? You've always been a musician?
Yeah, so I haven't got the theoretical kind of academic side of it like Sarah has. So, you know, we're probably a good team in our different backgrounds of music. But I formed a band when I was kind of at school and had some piano lessons when I was really young, but I was one of those typical kind of kids who never really practiced. And I had quite a scary piano tutor who was always kind of quite aghast at how I painted my nails and stuff. So when I was about when I was about 15, I was like, no, I want to be in a rock band. I like heavy metal. So I kind of taught myself the bass guitar, and I've just been in bands since then. And over the last kind of 10 years or so, I've got more into the organising kind of community music events and trying to encourage other people to, have a go at music and come together to enjoy music, but very much not worrying about, being a perfectionist about it and just having a go and not being scared to make mistakes and all the kind of things that I think made me a bit kind of scared when I first started playing music. I think I was a bit too worried about having to, be a perfectionist and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm very much more about giving it a go and getting people to do that, really. So yeah.
Yeah, and I bet that's a great way to encourage people as well, because I can imagine with a lot of things, sort of anything, sort of arts, craft, anything like that, you can overthink it, can't you, and put yourself off from having a go. But having the sort of feelings that you have about it, Nicky, that must encourage people to get over their fear and get involved, really.
I hope so. I mean, I always like to say, when I get on stage and I play one of my songs and it's typically shambolic and I make a mistake and I stop and have a chat during the first verse, I always think, well, the next person to get on stage isn't going to feel intimidated. So hopefully I've done my job if I make them feel like that. So yeah, definitely.
And so your Musicultural Conversations project, how long has that been going for? And have you just wrapped that up?
So we've just finished some online versions of it. So the original project, we started the in-person sessions we did back in February. We started those. So those were the ones that were funded by the Language Hub at Leeds City Council. And so those were at the Holbeck in the Holbeck Working Men's Club in Holbeck. Again, if people don't know about this venue, it's really fantastic. They do so much kind of cultural and community stuff. And it's run by Slunglow, who are a brilliant theatre company. So we had a few sessions there, and then this global pandemic came along. So we had to stop running those, and we had a bit of kind of downtime. And then we got a small grant from Leeds Inspired to do some online sessions, and we did a session anyway as part of Leeds Asylum Seekers Support Network's online celebrations for Refugee Week. And then with the grant, we went on and did 4 more sessions after that. So yeah, they've just finished at the end of July. So yeah, that's what we've been.
And what were the differences you noticed between doing your live sessions and the online sessions?
That's a very good question, Hazel. I think for me, it was trying to get through the challenges of getting these people online that may not have access to Wi-Fi or data, or even some of them, mobile phones that have video technology on them, for example. So we've had to locate a lot of charities and a lot of groups that are supporting our target group to get people online in order to find out what they're doing and see if we can support our group members in the same way. It's been really interesting, actually, to see how they cope with these challenges and how people are trying to move into this online setting, where actually before it's even then harder to meet the group in some ways, because you need to be able to form a relationship with these people on without being in person. And I think that's quite difficult, particularly with language barriers as well. Have you got anything to say about that, Nicky? Anything you want to add?
So much, isn't there? So the differences between in-person and online sessions. Yeah, well, so the kind of things we were doing in the in-person sessions, so we were doing a lot of little activities using kind of music and song and drama to get people just to kind of feel relaxed and about speaking English. So hopefully the speaking English bit became a little bit scary when you're concentrating on doing a silly dance move or, singing a silly song or whatever. So hopefully that had that kind of effect. But one thing that was really big about our in-person sessions was at the end of every session, we would write a song, well, not during the session, but we will have written a song about the theme. So whether it was kind of food or sport or travel or whatever. And then the songs were kind of designed, so there was some of it that was prepared, and then there was some of the song was kind of very interactive. So we would ask people questions in the song and they would sing back to us, and then we'd have a chorus and we'd have harmonies, and it was really, really interactive like that. But when you're doing things online, as all musicians who've tried to do anything online will know, there are things that kind of stop you singing together. So there's like a kind of a lag, which means that everybody, will be singing at slightly different times, and the sound will cut out, as we all know in Zoom, if you've got kind of more than a couple of people speaking. So that real kind of interactive sing-along feel-good aspect was kind of snatched away from us. So we've been kind of working on how to work around that, how to have more kind of call and response things, how to pace the sessions so that we leave space between things, and just redesigning particularly the music side of things so that it works better on Zoom, and it doesn't just sound like a god-awful cacophony of everybody. But a bit of cacophony is fine, a bit of chaos and a bit of that I think is okay, because the sessions were very vibrant and busy and chaotic in a fun way. So I don't think having a bit of that is too bad, really. But,
we welcome the chaos.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Organised chaos. That's a phrase, isn't it? So we definitely embrace that.
It is, yeah. And organised chaos is always fun.
Yeah, definitely. But as Sarah said, it's getting people online in the first place. So our kind of target group not having Wi-Fi and not having enough data. If you've only got a bit of data, you might want to speak to your family rather than kind of messing around with us for 45 minutes. But but we've been connecting with other groups who have got funding to offer data, and just had loads of support from lots of other groups who've referred people to us, and loads of people. We mentioned Leeds Asylum Seekers Support Network, New Roots as well. That's another group who referred people to us. Everybody's just drawn together in an amazing way, really, haven't they?
There was also Maffwood Theatre as well. They're a lovely group of people doing lots of arts work with refugees and asylum seekers. And Hark as well, wasn't it, Nicky?
Yeah.
They were really supportive in getting people online too. So many lovely people that we've encountered throughout doing this work, and our network has completely grown over the course of the last couple of months. We've met new people online, which is wonderful, isn't it? And all of us have always said, it would be so lovely when we can meet again in person and actually, form a bit more relationship, which is off screen rather than on screen. Just really lovely.
Yeah, and isn't it fantastic, like you say, that I've talked to a lot of people during lockdown, during this strange time that we're in, and like the same thing, it's been about connecting people, making sure that you can get in touch with people, making sure that things can continue, having to look at different practices and how you restructure what it is you're doing. But I think it's just a testament to how fantastic everybody is, that even in this, difficult time where you could just sort of give up on everything, everyone's rallied together and thought about people who perhaps don't have access to the internet, because Nicky and I were talking about earlier, and we are so lucky in many ways to be in this situation, but have all the connectivity that we've got.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you when you got people coming to your music cultural conversations, how do you get in touch with those people? Does somebody refer them to you?
Well, I think you touched on that before, Sarah, didn't you? I mean, for the online sessions, we've been really lucky in having all these wonderful groups kind of referring people to us. Before we did the in-person sessions, we spent a lot of time going out and meeting people, and certainly I think that's kind of a problem about doing stuff online, is that we found with our in-person sessions that people were far more likely to attend if they'd met us in person, and they kind of hopefully trusted us, and they had a feel for what we were going to do. So one place we went to several times was the Mill Hill Conversation Club, which is a conversation club that runs on kind of Thursday afternoons at Mill Hill Chapel. And it's, Sarah, how good is that? You just go in and there's so many people and there's lots of volunteers, and it's so vibrant and exciting, and there's so many languages, and
it's such such a buzz.
And there's cake as well. And
there is cake.
It's such a wonderful place. And another really wonderful thing about them is that they're really, obviously really welcoming, but also, so the volunteers who run the group, they're really keen to help the group find out about other people running things for and supporting refugees and asylum seekers. So when we went, they were like, "Oh right, yeah, you can stand up at the end and you can talk to everyone," and they're really, really keen to help other groups kind of promote their sessions and their support. So yeah, they were great. We went along several times and we told people what we were doing.
We went back to volunteer as well, didn't we, Nicky? Just to kind of sit with people and take part in the conversation activity that goes on there, and we've met so many people, and over donuts and coffee, and it's like
I didn't have a donut. When did you have a donut?
Oh, you have to get there early for those, and I shared mine because
sharing's caring, isn't it? But yeah,
it is. Obviously pre-COVID, because we wouldn't share. We wouldn't share now.
No, you're not allowed to share donuts anymore. No. I think it's written into law.
Well, I think Sarah was obviously a bit ahead of COVID with her not sharing donuts kind of policy.
Yeah,
but,
it's like she already knew.
Ahead of her time. But also, actually, two of the volunteers who we met at Mill Hill came to all of our online sessions and volunteered for those, and they were just wonderful. It was so good.
Lovely.
Yeah, they were just brilliant. Yeah, can we give a shout out? Anne and Anna, I know they're very modest, but yeah, they were fab, and they really helped, and they gave us feedback, and they were just, they helped create that really nice, nurturing environment, and it meant we could pick on them to do all the the activities before we asked other people, so that was good as well.
Oh, that's a nice way to do it, yeah, because it can be very intimidating, can't it? I think if you don't speak English as a first language, I think sometimes you perhaps know more than you're willing to speak, because for me personally, when you learn a language, that is the most difficult bit, actually using the language that you've learned talking to somebody, because you worry that you might say things wrong or pronounce things wrongly, or just confidence, I suppose.
Again, it comes down to this kind of fear of making mistakes. And when I do have a kind of I say I have a language background. I only learned French, but I've worked in kind of language promotion, and I lead a small volunteer group that looks after foreign language assistants who spend their year abroad in Yorkshire teaching in schools and things. So, but I know that making mistakes is a massive part of learning languages. So if you're not brave enough to put yourself out there and make mistakes, then it's really difficult. So definitely, that's a really important part. It's funny actually, when we were asking the group for feedback in the last online session, one of the women from Iran she said something really lovely. She kind of said, I've been to other classes where I felt my confidence was really low, and I heard other people that were better than me, and I felt, I didn't want to speak. And she said she hadn't felt that in our session. So I think that's testament to how lovely the other members were, and how much they supported each other and didn't intimidate each other, I think. So that was really nice.
Yeah, and the setup as well. I mean, the way that you guys have set it up obviously made her feel comfortable.
Oh, I hope so.
It's funny talking about languages. Something that I've learned from this project is that it's such a powerful tool, and being able to understand people within different languages is such a useful and necessary thing to have, and probably something that I don't think is impressed on people maybe enough in this country, particularly me. In school, I did do languages at GCSE. I always really struggled, and it wasn't really a focus, mostly because I was learning how to play drums at the time. So my interests were a bit divided. But it's always the punchline of the group when we go around and we ask what languages people speak, and more often than not people say they have 5 different languages, and then it comes around to me and then they say, so what languages do you speak, Sarah? And I say English only, and it's almost embarrassing, but it's funny because they all just accept that that's part of maybe my culture. Whereas
exactly.
Whereas I also respect that how clever these people are, that they just can take on so many languages at once, and they're all just so talented. It always it's always it no longer surprises me, but it's just such a pleasant news that when you hear that they speak 5 languages and that they're nearly fluent, and then you can see them talking to each other as well. I just think it's wonderful, and it just creates that kind of community that we're always trying to achieve in our group, to kind of bring people together and keep a comfortable atmosphere, really, in our little team. It's lovely.
It is really lovely. I think you're right about sort of our, well, I'll say my culture also, and maybe England in general, where it's never seemed like it was that important to learn another language. Do you know what I mean? Because I think because we're in that weird position of so many people across the world speaking English, that it kind of, I mean, I'm sure there are people who learn lots of languages, so I'm not talking to you if you know loads of languages, but, we're sort of kind of lazy as a nation, really, about it.
Yeah,
and I've noticed that before. And sometimes if I have a neighbour, because I live in a really multicultural area, which I absolutely love, and occasionally you'll get somebody who's trying to speak to you in English, and then they'll apologise. And I always have to say to them, oh, please don't apologise. Like, I am so in awe of you being able to speak to me in my language, and you can speak in your own language, and like you said, probably loads of others. And it makes me always feel a little bit ashamed.
Yeah, isn't it embarrassing a little bit? And I always find it odd that people apologise for their English when I kind of think, well, I mean, I can't speak your language to the same level that you speak mine, so don't you dare apologise. I find it odd that that's a notion that people apologise for having bad English when I can't even say hello in somebody else's language, particularly. I try, and I have been learning as part of these sessions. I always try and pick up one word.
That's a good idea. Good way to do
session.
It.
So we in our sessions we sometimes applied songs and replaced repeated words in songs. So we did one with champions in it. So we went round the group and asked what the word for champion is in your language. So we learned a few of those, and Nicky taught me the French word for champions, which is very similar. It's like champion. Is that right, Nicky?
Yeah, not to be confused with mushroom, which is champignon.
Champignon.
Yeah. We are the mushrooms, my friend. It doesn't quite have that same, feel good factor, does it? But yeah.
I just did a fist pump in the air because I got it right, but you can't see that, so just for the visual element.
Yeah, we could have used that variation for our food session. Maybe that's one for next time. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, the languages, I think this is something the Language Hub were really keen for projects to do as well with their funding, is to celebrate, people's languages. And that's a really important part, I think, of making people feel valued and safe and welcome. And certainly, it was great, wasn't it, Sarah? In our in-person sessions, we had like a big whiteboard, and every time new people turned up, we wrote, we added to the languages that were on the board. And I think we had over 20 languages in the end that were kind of represented in the room. And it is just mind-blowing. And often people won't really, people might actually kind of say, oh, I only speak 2 languages, and they're not actually even counting their mother tongue among that. Or it's that English is this kind of, everybody obviously is trying to learn English if they come to England to be able to communicate, but it's that recognising and celebrating other languages, really, and the importance of that, I think, which hopefully gives people the confidence to go, oh yeah, actually I am pretty great. Yeah, I can speak English because look, I can already do all of that. So definitely.
Yeah, because because you're sort of celebrating their own language, which I think is fantastic, because it could, I mean, obviously, for practicalities and communication, it's nice to learn the language of the country that you go to. However, it's sort of taking the focus just away on learning English and showing that you're also interested in hearing their language and how words are different and used differently. I think that sounds great.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it was we were just so lucky, really, to be in that position. It's just, it was great.
I
bet you've learned lots of stuff about all sorts of different countries as well.
All different food types, Hazel. I'm a massive foodie. I mean, to be fair, Nicky and I both like food, and Nicky writes excellent food songs as well. If you ever get a chance to see Nicky's musical menagerie and the performances that Nicky does with any food song on that on that kind of a playlist that she has. I would highly recommend the gig. It's very fun.
I didn't realise until I'd written quite a few songs. I looked and I thought, wow, a lot of them are to do with food. So there's probably a concept album in there somewhere. But it's kind of something that brings us all together, isn't it? And yeah, when we did our food session, the song was probably kind of a fairly, simple concept, but the food was all about kind of British foods. So we were introducing a lot of vocabulary about British foods and traditions to do with foods, like, fish and chips on a Friday and Sunday dinners. And then there was a point in the song which is like, we like these things, but we don't want to eat them every day because that's really boring. And actually, we'd like to spice up our lives. And then you've got the idiom of spicing up your life, and then going on to talk about, introducing other foods and asking people to tell us their kind of favourite foods from home, and then just singing about that, really. So, and I got to wear my chili hat when we did it online, so that was all good.
You've got a chili hat.
I have got a chili hat, yeah. I won't put it on now because I think it'll be lost on a podcast, but yeah.
We'll just imagine you with it on.
It was difficult to and we performed this once for a pitch we did for the Art Soup group, which is part of Open Source Arts. And I think compared to our sessions, a few of them made the link between Spice Up Your Life and Spice Girls. And with the chili hat on, I sort of had this vision of Nicky as Scary Spice. But,
oh, no, welcoming Spice. But
yeah.
Did you get a very wide range of people coming then, like age-wise?
Oh, it's interesting because when we've just been doing our kind of evaluation report for Leeds Inspired, it kind of asked about age groups, and actually, well, they were quite big age groups, but most people, there were maybe a few people over 60, but I'd say the majority of people were kind of, I don't know, what do you think, Sarah? I'm not very good at telling age. People are generally younger than me.
Hey, that's the dog. I'm sorry. Age, I think
20 to 30 maybe.
Yeah. In that kind of age, younger than I anticipated, I think. But then some of the volunteers were in a bit of an older age bracket as well. But I think what that brought was a nice diversity in the group related to their kind of life experience, and a couple of things like that. I thought that was really lovely.
And we had some people who'd literally been in the UK for a few months, and some people who'd been here for like kind of 12 years. So there was a real breadth of experience there, and people able to kind of support each other. Actually, we did have some younger people as well, because some of the kind of German, Spanish and French speaking language assistants that we work with came along as volunteers to the in-person sessions, and they were really great. They've been through the whole learning English thing, and they're generally training to be teachers as well, and they're really lovely young people. So they really helped with the vibe of the group as well. They were great.
And so did you get lots of, you just talked about sort of wrapping up or feeding back about your funding and things. Have you had feedback from individuals who are involved in it?
Yeah, we've got it. I mean, it's all been good, hasn't it, Sarah? Just people saying they've liked the interactivity and they felt really comfortable, and they've felt it's all been
really
good.
Positive, I think, definitely, and so many people just grateful to be taking part as well, which I find strange. We're more grateful that people turn up. It's such a strange kind of equilibrium of kind of gratitude, I think, that people have, and we're always so relieved when people arrive and we kind of get to work doing our bit, and then it's always another relief when people actually feel confident enough to join in, and then you can see throughout the session as they start to sort of relax into it, and then they get to grips with the vocabulary and how we're applying that to the music and movements, and then once they forget that they're actually learning and they remember that they're just having a good time, you can sort of see the confidence come out of them, and that's when I think that's the moment when is kind of any kind of community arts facilitator that you've hit the nail on the head there with entirely what you're aiming to do. I think Nicky, you'll have the same sort of experience with that with other groups that you've run as well. I just think it's lovely. It's lovely to see when that happens, and you can see individuals grow through that as well, particularly in the in-person sessions we did before lockdown. There was some individuals at the start, they wouldn't say anything, they wouldn't talk to anyone, and by the end, they'd be heckling. It was it was just so lovely to see the personal growth in people as well.
Yeah, definitely. And people supporting each other, people translating for each other. And there was a lot of, as there always is when you've got funding, there was a lot of paperwork for people to fill in, and just seeing people helping each other, filling in the paperwork. And it was just really nice. And also because when we flagged up the languages that were in the room kind of at the beginning of the session, people then kind of twigged who had common languages with them, and so that they knew kind of who to go to if they needed a bit of kind of translation help or a bit of support or anything like that. So yeah,
that's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. And are you planning on are you carrying on with this project? Have you got is it sort of developing in any way? What's happening with it now?
Yeah, well, we're kind of obviously waiting to see when it might become possible, when it will become possible to do things in person again, obviously. And we were going to have a little bit of a break anyway. So Sarah, with all her juggling of things, is doing her MA dissertation at the moment, as well as working kind of 4 days a week and stuff. So we're going to give her a bit of time off for that, really. But we have had, because during kind of lockdown and all the pulling together of different groups, we've been able to raise the profile of the project more and get ourselves sorted to get a website and that kind of thing. We have had a couple of people who said, we're writing a funding bid and we'd really like to have you involved with things. So we're kind of hoping that maybe we might be able to partner up with some people to do some bits and pieces as part of other people's projects, potentially.
That sounds great. Sarah, well done on being such a Wonder Woman.
Oh, I know. Well, no, I don't know. I don't consider myself...
I know.
That came out well.
You be very modest. That was...
What I meant to say was, I don't particularly consider myself a Wonder Woman. Sometimes I sit here and I kind of think, I'd give anything just to not have to do the next job. Let's do something else. And in the interim of COVID, I've branched out into the investment of staycations. I don't know, this new fad that started because nobody's going anywhere, so we may as well stay in England. I've bought myself a camper van.
Wow.
So it's been converted. It's really a van that we've now converted into a camper van. And I'm testing my knowledge of Instagram and doing this by setting up a camper van page called Scudo Steve. So if anybody out there wants to follow us on our adventures in Scudo Steve,
how are you spelling that, Sarah?
So it's Scudo, Sierra. Oh, I can't do that. SCUDO, and then Steve the name, STEVE.
Brilliant.
Okay.
I'll definitely check that out. That sounds amazing.
We've only got 5 posts so far, but we have got 80 followers already, and that's quite organic. I haven't really advertised it, so I must be doing something right. Here we go.
Well, I imagine that it's very much in people's minds and that they're thinking, we'll have a look at this project, see if we can do it ourselves.
Oh, definitely. There's so many people on there converting campers and all sorts. It's really interesting. So as a side hobby from all the other side hobbies I have, this is something that I'm exploring at the moment, just to be able to go away at weekends. It's really good. We pack up on a Friday night, and then point and go, basically. So I've been to Whitby, I've been to Northumberland, we went to the Lake District, and it's nice because you're not staying anywhere else, you're not going into somebody else's home or anything like that. You can keep yourselves isolated in that sense, and then home is where you park it.
That sounds absolutely perfect. Have you both always lived in Leeds?
No, neither. Well, Nicky, I don't know how long you've lived in Leeds.
Go on,
Cool.
you go first.
Okay, I'll go.
That'll give me time to remember. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's shorter for me. So I moved to Leeds when I was 18 to study at Leeds Beckett first time round for my undergraduate degree of music production. And I've spent 3 happy years exploring all the bars in Leeds and not doing that much music production. Still managed to pass and still have a great knowledge of all the bars in Leeds up until the point that I then went home to go full time as a lifeguard at a water park in Blackpool. And I worked there for a couple more years before I decided I should really do a master's and I should really work on becoming some sort of arts industry person. So then I decided that Leeds should be the place that I call home. So I moved back with the help of Nicky Bray, actually. She put me in touch with a friend of ours who needed somebody for a spare room.
I forgot about that.
So I managed to settle in and I got a job, which I stayed in for a while, serving chicken at a familiar restaurant. And and then from there I started trying to investigate where I fit in the music industry, basically, as my skills aren't necessarily. I never fancied myself as a performer particularly, and I did quite like all the music production stuff I did, but I was always told that people is my best skill, really. I get on with people. People tend to warm to me for some reason. So community work is kind of where I've started to branch out, and I've had some mild success kind of engaging in that. I've met some lovely people, some great groups I've worked with, and some very talented amateur performers as well, which from my background in music and drama, I can nourish that quite well in people, I think. And then from there, I still try and network. I still like to go to gigs. There's a wealth of music in Leeds, lots of great venues, all the great bars that I previously experienced and more. They're always changing. There's always something new going on. There's always a new festival, a new event to go to. So I always try and keep up with what's going on in Leeds to know where to go and who to see, and just try and socialise on that level as well. I think it's really important as a part of networking. I think within this particular industry, the two seem to sort of go hand in hand, that you do a lot of meeting people over food and drink and all that sort of thing. It's all goes together quite well. So some of my favourite things that Leeds has to offer. And then I haven't left with no intention to do so for a while. So yeah, I love Leeds. I think it's a great city. It's vibrant. It's so diverse, and we're so lucky. We're spoiled for choice with restaurants and just wonderful. I'm going to stop talking so Nicky can.
I have remembered now. So yeah.
Good. Oh, I spoke for long enough.
So yeah, I came to Leeds so I was born in Suffolk, moved to Newcastle when I was little, and then moved to Leeds for uni to go to Trinity and All Saints, as it was called then, in 1996. I've lived in France a couple of times for short periods while I was studying, but I didn't want to kind of go back anywhere else after I finished, so I stayed in Leeds, and I absolutely love it. Can't imagine. Well, it'd be quite nice to live in France again, admittedly, but I can't really imagine living anywhere else now. I'm definitely
good choice,
definitely
Nicky.
a Leeds girl.
And if I asked you what you think is great about the city of Leeds, Sarah, you've mentioned quite a few things, but I don't know if you want to be more specific about one particular thing.
I would say that the venues that we have in Leeds for live music, I kind of Leeds first time round for me, I would always seek out live music to go and watch, or particular DJs that I quite like, who are Leeds based as well. There's a lot of great music out there to go and watch. I frequent different venues, from the Broodnell to Porto. I quite like the guys down there as well at Porto. They do a great job of putting on kind of the grassroots music down there. There's just so many to say, really. I think, Hazel, it's really difficult to try and pinpoint, but for me,
it is, isn't it?
For me, the wealth of music venues, Wolf Chambers is a particular favourite of mine, and Nicky's as well. We go to gigs there together, and Nicky's even put on a few shows down there as well, haven't you, Nicky?
Yeah, that's when I'm doing family friendly stuff, that is my venue of choice, because it's just, and it's filled with families and kids, and I even was allowed to get my face painted at the last youth anthems. I got a dinosaur on my face, so that was made it even better.
Not just you want.
Kids. Exactly, yeah. No, it's great. We noticed Rob mentioned that as his hidden gem, didn't he, in the last podcast that we'd listened to?
Yes,
and,
definitely. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Hopefully not too hidden, because we hope that lots of people, find out about it and go there.
Yeah, definitely. And if you had to choose something, I know it's very difficult, but you had to choose something not so great about Leeds, what would you choose?
Oh, can I say, as somebody who doesn't drive and can't yet properly ride a bike, I have to say public transport, particularly the buses. And I think I'm sure people have said that before on here, I imagine.
Yeah.
So, not great. And just for a city like Leeds, I mean, to not have an alternative, to not have a metro or a tram. And, I think we know about the history behind certain projects that haven't actually worked out. But it is just, it's not right, really. And it makes me makes me mad that I don't know that people are forced to use their cars, really, because there isn't a viable alternative for a lot of people. But on a positive, I did, when I was a few years ago, quite late in life, starting to learn to ride a bike. I can't remember who it was through, but I got like free lessons through from a volunteer. And I'm just thinking back now, particularly what I put the poor man through. But I mean, that's just, to be able to get free bike lessons. I think that's fab. And actually, I think that's something I'd say is a really good thing about Leeds, and maybe a lot of other places, but this is the place I've lived the longest, is just that there's so many people out there doing community stuff and voluntary stuff, and it's not for the money, it's not for the reputation, it's just because they want to do it, and they want to make Leeds a better place. And I just think it's fab. I don't think I know many people that aren't involved in some kind of volunteering or community stuff, and it's just, it makes me proud. It's one reason I'm proud to be British. I think there's not many, but I think we're quite good at all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Sarah?
I really struggled for an answer for this, Hazel. As a driver, I tend not to explore the public transport offerings of Leeds, but sometimes I do ride my bicycle of late quite a lot, actually. And I used to, because I used to live in Meanwood and I used to work in the city centre, so I used to do that cycle down Meanwood Road, which is fine because on the way down it is downhill. But the hills around here, my goodness! Now, as somebody that grew up beside the seaside, we're at sea level there, ground level. In the fluctuations of the hills around here are just ridiculous. I live in South Leeds, and I regularly travel through Beeston Hill, and Beeston Hill is on a hill that you have to go up to get back towards where I live in South Leeds, and it's just an absolute monster. I was going up there the other week, and my friend, who didn't recognise me on my bike, drove past me, and when she saw me where we were meeting, she said, "I actually looked out the window at you and said, 'Look at that poor lady.'" as I was bent double over the handlebar, I was trying to make it to the top of the traffic lights just up there by the community centre. I've never struggled over something more than the hills around here on a bicycle. But then I have seen... Go on, sorry.
I know that hill very well, and I can attest that you did. I'm very, very impressed that you cycled
Hazel.
Up that hill.
It wasn't without trial, but I have seen people cheating on these things that have electricity in them, these electric bikes.
Yeah.
I mean, it completely defeats the object for me, but I can understand the notion, particularly if there are a lot of hills around where you live. I think that extra support maybe is quite appealing. But for now, it's I call them. I came up with a name for it. I think I called it the thigh burner. That's the name for my bicycle, and we'll continue with that for the foreseeable probably. But we'll see. Anyway, yeah. So I think it's the hills in Leeds on a bicycle are just outrageous. But I'm coming to terms with that slowly.
If that's the worst thing you've got to say about Leeds, it's not so bad, is it? I guess.
No, it's not so bad, is it? If you're going to, hills, that's not too bad. If I asked you to tell somebody who'd been a resident of Leeds for a long time about something that you'd consider to be a hidden gem, what do you think you would choose?
Do you know, this is, I don't know how hidden this is, because it's a venue that I know really well because I put on a lot of my regular events there. But I wonder if other people kind of know about it being a venue particularly. So it's the Fox and Newt pub, which is, it is in town. It's just on the edge of town, opposite Leeds City College. So there's a little pub there. It's a really nice pub. It's got its own microbrewery. But upstairs, it's got like a really nice kind of gig room as well. So we've been putting our events on there, for the last kind of 7 or so years. And it's a really nice little gig room. There's really kind of affordable to hire it. You get a brilliant sound engineer who's almost kind of part of our kind of family now, really, with the events that we put on. I just wonder if people know that it's a venue, or even that the pub's there. So I definitely say that's kind of a hidden gem. And they are, I heard from the guy who runs it the other day, and they are starting to look at putting on kind of acoustic, socially distanced gigs in there. So if anybody is interested in putting events on, then do get in touch with him, because I think it's a lovely venue and I recommend it strongly.
Brilliant. I'll put a link to that in the podcast notes, and then people can get in touch with them.
I guess it's my turn, isn't it? Hidden gems. I have two, I think, Hazel. I'm sorry, because I always have to be different and talk more than is necessary.
That's fine.
The first one, I'm gonna promote a friend of mine who makes donuts. He is an independent business owner of a little cafe, which is it's near the Marriott Hotel in the square there, in the centre of Leeds. He owns a shop called Dough Hut.
Oh yes, I've been by that.
Yes,
I haven't actually been in, but I've been by. It does look amazing. He
makes excellent donuts there. I'd highly recommend go and see him. The owner is my buddy Tom, who I met at uni, and he's an absolute star, and he's done so well maintaining his business over the last couple of months through a challenging period. And he's brilliant, and his food is good. I particularly like the jam donut that he does. He makes his own jam, and wow. it's just delicious. So definitely, if you ever have a hankering for a donut or a sweet treat, I'd definitely pay him a call, because he'll always be pleased to provide you with your donut needs.
I'll definitely get along there.
I bet they're so good that you don't even share them. Is that right?
No, to be fair, I haven't shared his donuts. No. But the other one, I guess people maybe don't realise, particularly if you don't have a car, how close we are to the countryside here in Leeds. You don't have to drive far to find, a bit of an open space, from if you're going up to the moors, or if you're going down to towards the Pennines. I always think we're so lucky in where we're situated that adventure isn't too far away. There's always a walk or a river or a park close by that you can kind of escape to, and I don't know, whatever tickles your fancy, really, a game of poo sticks or something like that. I always think we're really lucky that you don't have to travel far to kind of feel like you're out of the city.
And definitely, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, maybe that's a reflection of kind of how intimate maybe Leeds is in size, but which I also think is a positive. But I just think it's really nice that you don't have to go too far to kind of escape as well.
Yes, you're right. I 100% agree with that. I always ask, well, I ask anybody to send in songs and I'll feature them on the podcast. But I always ask guests if they have one that they'd like to play, because quite often there's a nice story that ties in with whatever we've been talking about. And for this episode, Nikki, you've chosen a song called Live and Learn, which is by yourself.
Yes, what an ego. Yes, let's listen to one of my songs.
It's a brilliant song. I love it.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice of you. We've talked a little bit about my experiences learning to ride a bike at the age of 40. So you will, when you hear the song, you will know that it's all based on a true story. But I thought it fitted in particularly well at the moment because so the song is just, well, it is inspired by kind of learning new things when you're older, and also not kind of worrying about being kind of perfect at things, and even being any good at things. Because I think through a lot of life, particularly, the further you go through education, it's all about striving to do your best, and there's a lot of competition, and I'm not sure. Again, I don't want to sound 100 years old and say, oh, they're not, kids don't learn this these days, because I don't think we ever really learned it. But I think learning how to fail is really important as well. And learning how to deal with, well, obviously we've all been dealing with massive challenges recently. So learning learning what to do when things don't go right. And actually, when it comes to learning new things, I personally, and this certainly happened when I was learning on the bike, I find it really quite empowering to do something without the expectations of being really good at it. And actually, when I was falling into a flower bed or getting kind of ridiculed by teenagers and things, I kind of thought, I don't really care, because I'm not gonna enter the Tour de France or anything like that. I just want to know how to ride a bike. So I think it's, once that pressure's not there, you can almost embrace being bad at things and kind of laugh at yourself and not be afraid to make mistakes and just enjoy the experience. So, and I think during lockdown, how much learning have we all been doing? And we've had to do things that we aren't very good at just because it's better than not doing them. And we need to kind of, keep trying to do things, keep trying to support people. And we're not all going to suddenly be brilliant at using new technology, but I don't think that's what matters. It's just having a go and
just working your way through it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And what will you both be doing with the rest of your afternoon?
Well, I'm making a music video, which this fits in nicely with doing things I'm not very good at. So our songwriting night, which I co-run with Carl Flattery. So he's the reason me and Sarah know each other, because he set up the songwriting residential at Leeds Beckett. So we've got this monthly songwriters night, but we've moved online during kind of the lockdown, and we've got a video making special on Sunday. So we're inviting people to make videos of songs that they've written. So typically last minute, I'm still trying to get my video finished for Sunday. So I will be messing around in my own house, filming some video footage of myself to go with the song that I've recorded.
That sounds like a good project to be doing.
Yeah.
And what about you, Sarah?
Well, aside from maybe looking at the weather forecast to see if it's appropriate to drive over to the Lake District this evening, if not, then it will be looking at a bit more of my dissertation and maybe attempting some of my lit review and or methodology. So basically trying to present what I'm doing in a philosophical way. So everybody say your dissertation prayers for Sarah tonight while you're thinking of whatever you're having for your tea. Just spare a thought for Sarah's methodology, and
I will
hopefully it'll all go well.
Well, best of luck with that, and best luck with everything that you're involved in. And thank you so much for coming along and taking the time to speak to me.
Oh, thank you.
I hope to catch up with you both in real life at some point in the future.
That would be lovely. Yeah, we could all go out on our bikes and you can laugh at me when I cycle into a bin.
Maybe we'll go and get donuts that we won't share.
That all sounds perfect to me. Thanks a lot, guys.
It's such a pleasure. Thanks, Hazel.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
It was fantastic to find out about all of the great things Nicky and Sarah have been up to. There are links in the podcast notes to their work. Nicky chose a track that she's written and performed herself, and it's called Live and Learn. It's brilliant and the lyrics are really funny. Enjoy!
I'm learning to ride a bike at the age of 40. Why did I not do it sooner in life? with fewer obstacles to thwart me. Ooh. Now I've got more body mass to balance and far further to fall, and stabilizers give rise to derisory comments more than when you're small. My steering is veering, you'll see me careering through flower beds, and teenagers jeer as I ride into yet another hedge. My knees and my elbows are constantly grazed. It's the no when you're four, not when you're middle-aged. But frankly, I really don't care as I glide down that hill with the wind through my hair. It's never too late to make a start. It's never too late to make a start. Once you accept you might not be adept, and you don't have to excel. You can say what the hell. I'm learning how to swim at the age of 70. Ooh. Why did I leave it so long to dive in? The water feels heavenly. Ooh. But no other adult is doing doggy paddle in the shallow end, and I hope that I don't get the bends. This chlorine is making me choke, and I can't see a thing without my bifocals. And when I'm floating in the ocean, stretched out on an inflatable, my prowess is debatable, but I feel unbreakable. It's never too late to make a start. It's never too late to make a start. Once you accept you might not be adept, and you don't have to excel. You can say what the hell. It's never too late to make a start. It's never too late to make a start. Once you realize there's no pressure, no prize, and you don't have to excel, you can say what the hell. You can say what the